You know how you get up in the morning and you read the newspaper and there's some story that discombobulates your equilibrium? Well, it happened to me today, and it wasn't a story about some ghastly human tragedy. It was quite different. It was the revelation that South Africa has decided to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. Now, that's a terrible blow to international justice. South Africa, back in 2002, when the court was formed, was one of the strongest protagonists of the court, encouraging other African countries to ratify the statute. And now the withdrawal will probably have the reverse effect. Just last week, the government of Burundi withdrew from the court, and it's entirely possible that South Africa will trigger a withdrawal on the part of Kenya, whose president was some time ago indicted for crimes against humanity by the International Criminal Court, although the indictment was withdrawn for other reasons. And what is most ominous is the possibility that at the meeting of the Africa Union in January of 2017, the International Criminal Court will be on the agenda and there will be a mass withdrawal of all the African continent, which will mean a fatal blow to the existence of the court. Now, Africa argues that they're being unfairly targeted, that their countries and their militarists or leaders are the people who've been indicted. And that is in some measure true, but it is equally true that African governments have asked for the International Criminal Court to investigate in many cases, or there has been a referral from the Security Council of the United Nations at the request of the African government. So it's not entirely true that they've been targeted by any means. It's just that they have been vulnerable to legitimate charges. I must say, though, that if the International Criminal Court had had the courage to initiate an investigation into George Bush or Tony Blair for crimes against humanity in Iraq, there would be a much greater sense of fairness. Now, what has triggered this most recent episode is al-Bashir, the president of Sudan, whose scorched earth policy in Darfur resulted in terrible consequences for tens of thousands of people who died or have been dislocated. And the understanding of the International Criminal Court statute is that when you are indicted for crimes against humanity or war crimes or genocide, as al-Bashir has been indicted, then if you visit another country, that country, especially one that has ratified the court, as is the case with South Africa, should arrest you and turn you over to the International Criminal Court in The Hague, in Holland, where they reside. So al-Bashir visited South Africa, and a local court in South Africa said he should be turned over to the ICC, the International Criminal Court, and the government of South Africa allowed al-Bashir to return freely to Sudan. So the government of South Africa has now been challenged in court for a breach of the Constitution and a breach of the International Criminal Court justice. And when it is heard by the highest court of the land next month, the government of South Africa will be found to be in breach and they will suffer an awful embarrassment. They don't want the embarrassment. South Africa wants nothing to do with all of this. They just want out of it. They don't care about criminality at the highest levels in the African countries, and so they're going to withdraw. It's really abominable. And it's a victory for those who commit crimes against humanity and war crimes and genocide. I wish I hadn't read the paper this morning. That was last week. I'm Stephen Lewis.